Hello? Excellent. Okay, audio issue fixed. How's it going, everybody? Alrighty, welcome. We're gonna have a fun time today. We're gonna be doing my first ever PixelFX GEM. Never done one before. I've installed a few other PixelFX products like the DC Digital, N64 Digital. Let's see. Oh, PS1 Digital, I've done a few of those. But this is the first Retro GEM that I've done. So that's going to be exciting. First PS2 mod, HDMI mod that I've done. And of course, we're going to be doing the iFlash install as well. The objective here is, of course, to test and see how well the iFlash mod and the GEM work together. They're going to work together. The main thing is just to show that the two installations don't conflict with each other in any significant way. So that's basically what we're going to be doing today. For our candidate here, the PS2 we're going to be installing this in. This is a new to me PS2. I tracked it down just for this purpose. This is a 70,000, an SCPH 70,011 model. The 70,012 is what I was working in, the punished PS2 that all the other testing has been done in. They have the same basic motherboard layout, these two consoles, and they're going to be compatible for, they're going to be compatible with the iFlash Flex and power board and everything because they're basically the same motherboard layout. I do also have an SCPH 70,001 here. This is one of the V13 motherboards, and I've talked about this elsewhere, but currently the iFlash kit is not compatible with V13 motherboards, but I am working on a solution for that, so I do want to show that real quick. This is a V13 motherboard. The main thing is this area right here. On a V12 motherboard, there's nothing here, and that's actually where the power board normally would sit. So this is here's a power board. Normally it would sit approximately right here. But the problem is you got all these extra components that are part of the laser fix circuit. And this board would sit on top of those, so it can't sit flush, and it just isn't going to work very well. So I'm working on an alternate power board design that moves the SD card slot over and has a cutout for these components to sit in. So it'll still be a no-cut mod. It'll just use the next vent hole over from where this one does. And I've got prototypes of the V13 power board on the way right now. Well, not on the way, but in production right now. So I'm hoping to have some here for testing in a few weeks. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this console open and we'll start working on the installation. We're going to start with the iFlash installation because I think it's going to be the easier of the two to do, and then we'll move on to the Retro GEM. And this will be a little bit of an learning experience for me because I understand there's a lot of origami involved in installing a Retro GEM. Lots of folding, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and get this open. One thing I have to say, I've worked on a lot of Nintendo consoles over the years, and hardly ever work on Sony stuff. Hardly ever work on PlayStations, PlayStation 2s. It's just not a major source of business for me up to this point. But man, you work on enough Wiis and enough GameCubes and enough N64s, and then you come to a Sony product, and it's just like, it's a revelation, man. how easy Sony products are to work on. Like, this thing's got like 6 screws on it to get inside of it, and then inside of the motherboard there's like, I don't know, 8 screws or something like that, and that's it. The Wii's got to have no less than like 50 screws in it, and the GameCube, same thing, like 50 screws, and then even the N64 is probably like 20 something screws in it. It's crazy. Nintendo hates me. That's what it comes down to. It's no disc. Yeah, there's no disc in there. Can the iFlash be installed in a spot other than the front of the vent if you want to modify the case? I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's obviously designed around being mounted in that particular location, but you can really do whatever you want. You know, the power board is the main thing that's kind of where the compatibility issue comes from. And that power board just needs to hook to, it just needs to be plugged in, or, you know, soldered into a place where it can get 8.5 volts to generate the power for the rest of the mod. The SD card flex cable is going to limit how far you can move it from the original spot, unless you want to manually wire the SD card up with like individual wires, which is totally possible. It's something you could do if you wanted to. All right, so I'm going to leave the CD. I'm going to leave the drive attached. I'm going to go ahead and remove the modem, though. I'm going to leave the drive attached and just carefully lift the board up and flip it over without dropping the drive. I don't want to fully remove the drive because it's a pain to put the flex cable back into the laser assembly, but we're gonna go ahead and just, get a screw down here by the controller port. So we'll just lift the PS2 motherboard out. Maybe. There we go. All right, and then we're gonna very carefully hold on to the laser assembly so it doesn't fall out, and then remove the screws on the bottom shield here. Okay, bottom shield can come off. And go ahead and unplug the battery and the fan. And the top shield can come off. Will additional flex cables be sold as separately as backup cases? Yes. I am planning on having extra flex cables available in case you make mistakes. Still working on the details of how all that's gonna work, but I'll have some options for that whenever it comes release time. And the release is looking like it's probably going to be probably about 2 weeks, but I will have an exact date sometime next week. I'm just waiting for the PCB factory that's making these for me to get back with me on when they're going to ship. Okay, so whenever you receive your kit, it's going to look like this. You're going to have a anti-static bag here with the flex cables and the power board in it, and then you'll have another bag here with the 3D printed components and a cardboard stiffener just to keep everything from getting bent during shipping. So we're going to go ahead and pull out the main iFlash flex cable. That's what's going to be installed first. And we're going to start from the top side of the board. So the flex cable actually lines up right here on these 3 resistor packages. I have no idea the pricing of the kit is listed at $0. Yeah, so I listed the kit at $0 because I wasn't sure where the pricing was going to land, and I didn't want to put an actual number in there yet. So I think I've done I've done the numbers for the most part. I'm pretty sure that the kit is going to cost $25. Okay, but the main issue that we're still dealing with is the 3D printing process for the brackets, because I'm testing printing them in large stacks like this, and then splitting off the individual brackets, you know, printing them in such a way that I can print a huge stack at once and then split the individual brackets off. The issue with that is that the fine-tuning of getting them to break away cleanly has been difficult, and I'm still not there yet. So I don't know how much 3D printing time is going to be necessary to print each kit. So it's hard to say exactly. It's hard to say exactly what the cost is going to be in time on the 3D printed parts yet. So we're shooting for $25 for the kit, but $30 may not be out of the question if we can't get the 3D printing completely dialed in at this point. So to be honest with you, as far as cost and shipping goes, the 3D print is not going to increase the cost at all. The fact is that the flex cable needs to go into packaging that is at least 4" by 6" anyway. And the 3D print fits within that space. So, and the weight is basically nothing. So you're not gonna save any. You wouldn't end up saving any money on shipping if the 3D print was not included. Okay, let's go ahead and start soldering some stuff. How's that sound? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start here on the resistor package that's the furthest to the right. Now, one thing that is going to change between this version of the flex cable and the final version that will be shipping is that there will be, on the final version, there's going to be a couple of anchors, one on each side of the flex cable, here and here, to allow you to anchor the cable down to the ground plane before you solder the wires in, or they solder these components here on the top. On this early version, I didn't do that. I only have anchors on the other side of the board, but the new version is going to add anchors here too. I got some feedback and on installing it, and that was one of the recommendations that was made, and I think it's reasonable to do that. So that's one change. But for now, we're just working with the prototype version, so we don't have those. All right, let me grab some flux. Hit this with a little bit of flux, and then we'll go in and get these soldered in. Okay. All right, that's one down. Okay, those look good. Move on to the next resistor package. and then we'll hit these 4 little pads here. Okay, and then one more package on this side. All right. This bridge is being a little bit more difficult, so we're going to bust out the knife tip to clear it. Oh, wait. Oh, the knife tip is not hot. All right, just heating up now. Alrighty, let's get in here with a little bit more flux. We'll clear this bridge real quick. Looks pretty good. I think I cleared off a little bit of the solder on this pad over here too, so we'll just double check that and make sure we still got a good connection there. And it looks good. Alright, so that should be it for this side. If we look at it, you'll see we don't have any bridges. We got solid connections all around. So what we'll do now is we'll flip it over. And then the cable is just going to fold over like so. And then if you look here, the pads are just going to line up over this resistor package on this side, and everything else just lines up from there. Like so. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and tack down one of the pins on the resistor package to kind of hold things in place. Then we'll work on the anchors, and then from there we will solder everything else. Okay. So now we want to fold this cable as flat as we can. And then we'll come in here and add some solder to anchor this in place. Get some tweezers to kind of push this down while we're heating it. Okay, and then we'll do the middle anchor as well. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and do the anchor on the side here. Might as well. All right. So we're just going to hit each one of these pads. And then we have these three little resistors we've got to bridge the pads for. So we got to get the solder bridged, and this is actually going to be improved on the new Flex as well. It's minor change, adjusting the positioning of these pads that are close to these resistors. So we just got to get a little bit of solder bridged over. I think this I think this particular Flex actually might have a manufacturing defect in it, because the pads are not actually exposed fully on these. So there should be a little bit of exposed copper that I can solder to on these little points. Like right here, there should be exposed copper there, but there's not. Interesting. The alignment may be off on this one. Okay, let's see if we can make it work. This sort of thing should not happen on the final version of the Flex, because the geometry of the pads in this area has actually completely changed now. So this is kind of a non-issue, but I might have to run a few wires over there instead of just soldering straight to the pads, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get this to bridge. Doesn't seem like it's wanting to cooperate at all. Yeah, the pads are not bridging at all on this particular Flex. You know what? Let's try scraping the Flex off, the top of the Flex layer off a little bit here. If we have to run wires, that will help anyway. But even if that's enough, scraping away a little bit of it could be enough to give us enough of a solid base to get a bridge going like we're supposed to. Like I said, this won't affect the final version of the Flex at all, because I've completely reworked the geometry here, so this sort of thing can't even happen. But that's why we go through a few different prototype phases before we release something. I'm gonna switch over to the microphone. I mean, not microphone, microscope. I'm gonna switch over to the microscope so I can see what I'm doing better here. And we'll see what we can do. Okay. Sorry you guys couldn't actually see that part, but I did scrape away the mask that was on there. So we should have a good solid base to solder with. Let's see if we can get a bridge going now. Probably still going to be difficult. The alignment is just not quite right on this flex cable. The new one actually brings the pads closer to the resistors and angles them a little bit, so they'll be right up against the resistor. Should make it substantially easier to do this. Yeah, that one's not working. Okay, that one's done. Yeah, I'm gonna run wires for these. They're just being too difficult. Yep. Okay, so that's one. Unfortunately, this pad actually came off when I scraped it because apparently I punched through it. So we're gonna have to scrape a little bit more off. But, like I said, I promise you, you won't have to do any of this stuff with the new design. It's going to be a lot easier to work with. They're actually bridged now without the wire. But the problem is that pad is still messed up, so even though it's bridged like it's supposed to, I still need to run the wire. All right. Well, that was fun. This, what I was using is just some Kynar wire. It's like, what is this, 32 gauge? 30 gauge. 30 gauge Kynar wire. I just had it stripped so that I had clear wire. Now, like I was saying, you won't have to do that on the final version. This flex is just wasn't built correctly. The alignment was off when they manufactured this one, but I've reworked the design completely, so that area is totally different, because that's been a problem area. I've never been super thrilled with how the flex worked in that area, so it should be fixed now. Okay, now that we've got the flex cable installed, let's go ahead and install the power board. Now, something else I discovered after designing this kit is that on some of these PS2 motherboards, this fuse right here, PS11, that fuse is, on some boards it's a resettable fuse, on some boards it is not a resettable fuse. The resettable fuses are larger than the non-resettable fuses, which means the power board doesn't fit over top that fuse directly, because the cutout was designed for the non-resettable fuse. So, if you have a board that has one of those resettable fuses, you have a couple options. You could swap out the fuse for a non-resettable fuse, but there's actually really no need to do that. All you gotta do is just take the power board and file the opening for the fuse open just a little bit, because it just needs to be a little bit wider. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna file the opening for the fuse. Just gonna file a little bit off of each side. That's probably enough right there. Just filed the opening just a little bit larger. And yeah, now it fits over the fuse like it's supposed to. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and solder this in place. First thing we're gonna hit is the actual side of the fuse to get it soldered into the fuse, like so. and then we'll hit each of the ground points. And I'm pressing down on it while I solder that USB port ground point, because that ground point, usually if there's a lot of solder in that point, it's going to push the board up a little bit, so you push it down while you heat it up and it'll seat down flat like it's supposed to. Go ahead and add a little bit of solder to this anchor point here and this anchor point here. And now the power board is installed. Now at this point, you can test your work by plugging in your iFlash board and soldering a wire from the 3.3 volt pad here to the 3.3 volt pad on the flex. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's check our work. This isn't essentially required, but it's probably a good idea to test it before you go any further in the install process. Because once you remove the SD card slot from the iFlash, then the question of where the issue is, if you do have a problem, becomes more complicated. Alright, so I've just got some 28 gauge stranded wire here. I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the 3.3 volt pad on the power board and on the flex cable. Then we'll go ahead and solder our wire to the flex cable. Solder our wire to the flex cable, and then we'll solder the other end to our power board. Now this is a temporary thing. You don't have to leave this wire installed, because once you install the SD card extender flex, then power will be provided to the iFlash board through that instead of through the power cable here. But for testing purposes, we'll use it. I've got a memory card here with FreeMC boot on it. And then in this SD card, I've already got games loaded on there, so we'll go ahead and boot up this PS2. And I've got my FreeMC boot set to auto boot into OPL. And there you go. There's all the games. So our soldering job is good on the flex. We're not going to play a game for long. I just wanted to boot one just to show that it was booting correctly. And there you go. There's Final Fantasy XII. All right. So now that we've confirmed that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step, which is removing the SD card slot and soldering the extension flex. So we'll go ahead and unhook the iFlash board and remove it from the PS2. And we'll remove the PS2 from the table. We'll get the SD card out of there. So, the SD card slot needs to come off of the iFlash. And there's probably a number of different ways you could do this. You could probably do it with hot air, but I wouldn't recommend that because you don't want to damage this flex connector here. You could probably do it with a hot plate. That would probably be the easiest way to do this, but I don't have one of those. So what we're going to do is we're just going to manually remove this by removing each of the shield points on the corners one by one until we can pop this shield off, and then we'll remove each of the pins by just heating up the solder point and pulling the pin out. You want to be careful when you do this. You don't want to damage the iFlash board doing this, but it's fairly easy to do, and you don't need any real specialized tools. Just a regular soldering iron is all you need. So we'll start here in this corner. Just add some solder to the corner, and then we're just going to grab the corner and pull it upwards while we heat it up. And it pulled up a little bit. We'll go ahead and work the other side, and then we'll come back to that one once we have the other side pulled up. So add some solder. Start pulling up. Okay. So it's still got a solder bridge there, but it is pulling up quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and go back to the other side. And go back over. Okay, so now that side is clear. So what we'll do is we'll move to the back and start working that. So now that back corner is clear. And then we have this corner right here. We use some tweezers to wedge in there. Now, one thing you want to look out for that I screwed up here is I did hit this with the soldering iron, which melted the connector a little bit. It's not too bad. It won't stop it from working, but you want to try to avoid that if you can. Man, this one is not cooperating as much as the first one I did. Alright, well, we've got 3 corners mostly done. Let's go ahead and try prying the top off. You could, yeah, you could use some solder wick for sure. I'm just being stubborn, because this is how I did it last time. Okay, that's another corner off. I remember last time it just popped right off. I made it look too easy last time. There it goes. Okay. So we got 3 corners off. The last one is this one down here. So that's done now. So once you have the shield off, it's not that big of a deal to do the rest of it, because basically each one of these individual legs, you just heat up and remove with some tweezers. So we'll get in here and add some solder to each leg to make it easier to get to them. Alright. So you just want to grab a leg, heat it up, and pull it out. Alright, and then the last part that needs to be done is there is a switch mechanism over here that is soldered on. So you need to heat that up. And lift it up and off. Like so. And now we can clean up all of our pads here. Just hit them with a little bit of flux. All right, so all the pads are good on our iFlash now. Get our PS2 back in here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this power wire because we're not going to need it anymore after we get done soldering the flex cable. So we'll go ahead and tin up a pad here. Then we'll take our SD extension flex and line it up. And tack it into place, and then we can just go through and hit all the other pads from here. Okay, those look good. Now we take our iFlash and we'll go ahead and plug it back in. And then we'll line everything back up and we'll solder the flex cable in place. All right. Okay, that's all done. Now we'll do another test here to make sure that our extender flex is working. We'll take our SD card out and we'll put it into the extension board. And there we go. There's our games. All right, so now that that's all done and tested, let's go ahead and move on to installing the Retro GEM. We'll install the iFlash frame after this, but the Retro GEM install I think needs to come first because we may have to run, I think we have to run a couple of flex cables around this area. So temporarily, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a little bit of tape. Take a piece of electrical tape here and just tape the iFlash down so it doesn't flop all over the place while we're working. Okay, I have the PixelFX website pulled up here. And we're going to take a look at the installation process. So, it says first thing to do is to mount the GEM board. Okay, so we'll need the top shield for that. So I've got the top shield here, carefully holding the motor and laser sled in place so that we don't lose anything. We're gonna flip it over, and it says in this area here we need to cut a section out. So I'm going to attempt to do it this way. I'm going to take some of these beefy side cutters here. It says to cut there, and then it says to cut here. And then I'm going to try to just bend this back and forth to break it free. Well, that may not work very well on this particular piece of metal. This is normally the strategy I take, but I don't know. It works well on GameCubes for GC Dual installs, but this shielding is a little bit more particular. You know, I hate to do it, but I think I'm going to remove the laser. It is a major pain putting this laser cable back in, but I feel like if I don't remove the laser, it's going to be in my way and potentially going to get damaged if I'm not careful here. There we go. That wasn't so bad. Okay, hopefully that won't be razor sharp anymore. Okay, So that's done. Now the next thing is going to be, this was one that did have a 56K modem. And it says there's some trimming that needs to be done on the top shell. So let's take a look. Take a look at our top shell. So it says there's some trimming that needs to be done here. So we need to remove this plastic here, which I'm gonna say, can these, nope, my flat nose cutters won't fit down there. So I guess we'll just take some side cutters. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, and then it says to cut this. Wait, hold on. What is it saying? That's with the... Okay, well, this part has to come out right here, it looks like. And then it says this part here, which I don't know exactly how they want me to do this. It's not really adjacent plastic. Let me look at the interior. So so they want me to just shave the plastic off like so, kind of like this. But how low am I going? Because it's not clear. Match the height of the adjacent plastic. So does that mean this top portion should match this or this? Because that's a deep trim if it's this, but if it's this, then that makes, I mean, that's reasonable enough. Well, what is that? How does that look? You think that's probably right? I mean, it's basically flat with that. Perfect. Okay, good deal. All right, what's next? Mount the gem board onto the top of the shield. Let's see. So here-ish. So, you know, it doesn't say explicitly, but this does come with a adhesive pad. Should this be, or not adhesive, this is like a shielding pad or something like that. I assume this needs to be installed to the bottom of the board. I mean, it doesn't say, at least not yet in the instructions, but I'm assuming that's the case. All right, so first hole should line up here. And then it says to mark the other hole so we can drill it. Let's see. That should be good. We'll go ahead and pop this up back off of here. There's my little mark there. We'll grab a drill. What size are we drilling this out to? 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters, it says. Oh, I'll be right back. My drill is upstairs. Alrighty. All right, that's a hole. All right, well, that looks pretty good. Close to spot on. I might have to drill it out a little bit larger because I think my alignment is off by just a hair. It's probably good enough. Okay, now it says to mount using the provided M2 screw. Well, we're going to go ahead and pop the original screw into the top here. And we'll take the new M2 screw and put that in the bottom. Okay, then it says to solder this nut in place. Which is a good idea. Well, there you go. That looks pretty good. Now, I don't know if I'm missing something here, but I don't see anything saying to put that... I'm... Oh. Oh. It's at the very beginning of that section that tells you to put that the pre-cut plastic sheet and a couple other things together there. My bad. I was too impatient. I didn't read. What the hell, man? This adhesive shield stuff sucks. This sucks. This is garbage, dude. Oh my gosh. So it's separated. Okay, I see what happened here. The layers of this adhesive separated on me and started peeling apart. Okay, never mind, it's not so bad. It just got screwed up on my end. It's a little screwed up, but it'll work out. The good news is I'll know what I'm doing next time. This is the first time I've ever messed with one of these. Alright, so I'm also supposed to have taken the little HDMI extender board out here and installed it as well. Like so. And then these longer screws are supposed to go into there. Like so. And then we have a couple of nuts to go with these as well. And it said okay, well, we're good. We'll just install both of these nuts. Like so. And now everything truly should mount up correctly. Oh, there we go. All right, it's like nothing ever even was done incorrectly in the wrong order. Digital audio pad only uses half the pad. Solder my config jumpers while the board is out. Well, I suppose I could do that. Does it really matter? I mean, they're all the jumpers are up here, right? Should be fairly easy to get to. Unless I'm missing something. I don't know what my config jumpers should be yet. Let's see, what is the... Yeah, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing with the config jumpers yet, because the guide doesn't say anything about it at this time. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense that we would have to set the jumper for PS2, but I don't know which jumpers to set for PS2, so I'm assuming the guide is going to tell me at some point. I'm just waiting for the guide to tell me what to do. So, it says the next thing to do is to do the audio and controller hookup cable. So we'll go ahead and bring the PS2 back in here. Oh. So why doesn't the guide... So the guide doesn't tell you what jumpers to set for PS2 in the guide itself? Why not? Isn't that obvious? You're going to need to do it, so... Alright, look, I'm looking at it right now. It says... For PS2, it says, leave A open. Okay. Alright. Close C, close D, close E, and close J. Alright, I can do that. You know what I think would be neat? This is just a little thought for Dan and the team over there at PixelFX. They probably don't care what I have to say, but let's just say that they do. What I think would be neat is if on this massive FFC connector that they have here, if they had the jumpers just integrated into the flex cable. So when you insert a PS2 flex cable, it would automatically set the jumpers for PS2. Because it's not like you're going to be using a PS2 flex cable on a different console. So you'd think the flex cable itself could have the jumpers set on the cable. So when you plug it in, it would already know based on the cable that's plugged in. That's just me. So it says to jump C, D, E. Alright, so C, D, and E, and then it says to jump J. Done. Look, I'm sure that the flex cable connector that they have on here, I'm sure all of the pins do something. Because they designed it to be able to be used with a bunch of different consoles in the future, but it just seems like that if you're gonna put a massive cable connector on here, why not just add a few extra pins so that the cable can handle the jumpers? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Look, just an idea, just a thought. Anyways, alright, we'll get that out of here. Back to the guide. What are we supposed to do next? It says controller and audio cable is next. All Slim models up to 77,000 have the same controller audio hookups. Be extremely gentle, it says. Well, see if I can manage that. Alright, let's see. Which cable is this? This cable is this one here. So it looks like it's supposed to go like this. Yeah, that seems to be where it's saying to solder it. All right, and then the cable is supposed to fold over. Cable is supposed to fold over in kind of a peculiar looking way. I don't know about this. I think it's supposed to fold this way. Unless it's supposed to go the other way, which would be kind of awkward. Yeah, according to the guide, it looks like they're folding it this way. Even though the marking on the flex appears to be saying to fold it under the other direction, but it seems like it would be more difficult to do that. All right. Okay, that flex is done. Or at least that side of it. Okay. Now for this end, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Hold the flex as shown and solder to the leg of the audio chip. What the hell? Okay. Okay, I see how it's supposed to go. So you're supposed to fold over and then under, right? So we're just gonna bend it over for now, and then we'll actually make those folds after we've got it soldered in place. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Origami, not my favorite. In fact, if it were me writing this guide, I would have probably said to do this first, because this seems like the more challenging operation than the controller flex. I would have done this first. In the future, I will do this first. No, you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but okay. We're good there. Okay, so now we should just be able to flatten this down, and then put a fold right here. So now it's folded down. There you go. That's how it's supposed to be done. Okay, then we've got a digital audio pin we have to get from the SPDIF connector. Okay, let's see. Solder a 6-inch wire. Where's that going? Where is that going? Soldered wire. The other end will be installed once the GEM board is mounted, shown in step 6. 6-inch wire. Dang. All right. Well. Let's grab some Kiner wire. Let's see. It's about 6 inches. All right, so we're supposed to solder to this wire here on the SPDIF connector. The guide shows the wire going up like this, so I don't know how it's supposed to be routed yet, but we'll find out later, I suppose. Alrighty. Now we install the main flex, it says. And this board has the video encoder chip on the top. So we're going to be working up here on the top and doing some origami, I am sure. Okay, it says to solder the intermediate flex to the controller flex, so we'll flip it back over. The intermediate flex would be this guy. So it seems we should be setting it like so, and then connecting these flexes together. Okay. All right, there you go. There's your intermediate flex. Okay, it says solder the main flex. And now we go back to the top. The main flex goes here, it looks like. Approximately. That looks about right to me. Okay, I'm gonna get in here and get this one corner that I can see pretty well done first. Actually, part of what makes this kind of difficult is the fact that this is a pretty stiff flex cable. Getting it all lined up and everything is kind of a challenge because it's a very stiff flex cable. And there are capacitors right underneath where it's supposed to be soldered. Let me double check. It doesn't, I don't think it said anything about removing any capacitors, but wait a second. Oh, I guess it probably does want me to remove some capacitors, but there's no... It doesn't say which ones to remove. Oh, you have to click a different picture. You have to click a set... Listen, I don't want to just sit here and complain about the way that they design their website and their guides and everything, but I gotta say that the website's awful. The design of this installation section is terrible. I'm not saying I write the best guides ever. I'm not. But my guides are better than these. And this is like a company with like multiple employees. There's like, what, three engineers working at this company, and then they also have at least a PR guy, maybe. Okay, it's just to remove those two as well. I mean, the thing that's crazy about it is why wouldn't you just put it in the install guide? Everything else is in the install guide. Why is it a separate thing you have to click on? It's ridiculous. All right, there we go. So it should be easier to position everything now because we actually have removed the components that were in the way. Yes, I know we don't want to talk about the PR guy. Okay, look, it's embarrassing. The whole thing is very embarrassing. I remember back in the day when it was just Dan and Chris, whatever his name was, Chris 2006 or whatever. Chris 2600 maybe is his name. I don't know his actual name. I mean, I assume it's Chris, but beyond that, I don't know. And they were working on the PS1 digital, and they were working on the DC digital, and they were working on the long-awaited PS2 digital. And it was all great. But a lot of weird things have happened. Since then. It doesn't say you have to mask them on this motherboard revision. It does say you need to do it on the motherboard revision that has the encoder on the bottom side, but I think it's because the components are a lot closer. I think the components are a lot closer to the chip, so the flex cable might overlap with them a little bit. There's a lot more space on this version of the board. Alrighty. Time to actually solder this thing in place. Oh, did I miss a component? Let's go look at that picture again. I think I might have missed one of these components I was supposed to remove. Well. Oh, that's interesting. The example that they have of this motherboard doesn't have a capacitor in the location that I have one on mine. Wait, no, it does. But it doesn't say to remove that one. No, it doesn't. That capacitor is in a different location on this board. So I got a capacitor hiding out under here that's blocking my installation. No, that's an extra one. That's not on the example board. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. The example image that they give you for this board doesn't show a capacitor there. That's interesting. So we'll go ahead and extract that one. Obviously, it's not critical because it's not even on other revisions of this board. That's the thing about these PS2 motherboards, though. There's a lot of revisions of, like sub-revisions of revisions of the motherboard, so you don't ever know if everything's going to be exactly the same, even if you're looking at one of the same revision of motherboard, because you could have, you know, a dash 11 or a dash 13 or a dash, you know, whatever specific version of a motherboard. It's different than what they used for their example. All right, let's get this other side here. So the thing about using a knife tip for doing flexes and really fine pitch stuff like this is that you will get bridges. You're gonna get bridges, like it's just part of the deal. But you can also clear them really easily. So that's why I think it's the best way to go. But that looks pretty good. Let me double check under the microscope just to visually inspect. Glad I did check. We're not making a connection right here because the flex bends a little bit. Let's see if I can show that. Not really making a connection there. Let's get our tweezers in there. Okay, that looks good. Looks like we're not making a connection down here either. This all looks good on this side. All right, should be good now. Yeah, look, I mean, look, the thing about it is the knife tip, I truly believe, is just easier. But you have to be confident with it because it's easy to get psyched out by it if things don't go perfectly the first time and then you panic and, you know, I get it, but I'm just saying that ultimately where you want to get is you want to get to the point where you're using a knife tip for this sort of stuff because it is easier on you. Ultimately, it takes less time. Okay, it says to bend the flex as shown. So this is supposed to bend over and then back something like this. Approximately like that. And then it says To solder the intermediate flex to the main flex. Pay attention how the flex bends and rotates. Okay. So on this side, so it looks like you're supposed to fold it over here and then back over like this. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. And then it's supposed to come over over the top. And then under this bend right here, right? And then it's supposed to bend over. Like this. And it's supposed to bend again. And somehow all line up just right, perfectly every time. Ooh. Wait a second. This isn't frustrating at all. Not even the slightest bit frustrating. Whoever said this was frustrating? I don't even know. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I think we're in the zone here. Times like these, you could really use a third hand. Okay. Well, it's not exactly like the picture, but it's close. I don't know, the alignment of the cable coming over the top there is not exactly the way it looks like in the picture. All right, well, whatever. Okay, now we need to get the power hookups in here. So apparently we get this 3.3 that we get here. Let's double check. Yeah, okay, so this here should end up over here. And it shows two different things on the image, so let's take a look here. It shows on one image it shows that you solder to this point here. On the other it shows that you solder to here. And these two things are not electrically connected. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, according to my multimeter, these 2 points are not connected to one another. Not directly, at least. There's some resistance there. Yeah, it's just 3.3 volt. That's super weird. Oh, wait, hold on. No. Hmm. Okay. Well, it's all sorted out. I know what it is. I reread the instructions. Man, they really got to put, like, stuff. They really got to put, like, actual information into their photos that they provide. Because the photos themselves have, like, a little color code on them. But they don't actually say anything. There needs to be text on the photo so that you can look at the photo and know what the photo is telling you. Yeah, I know now. It is the 3.3, and no, that leg is not the one. So the image is color coded, but here's the problem. Some people are colorblind, and I am one of those people. So color coding is really difficult for me. Like, I didn't even see the red color code for the 3.3 volt line until I looked at the image, like, for the 4th or 5th time, because it was literally, it's invisible to me. Like, you barely can tell that there's a color marking there. So you should use, really, when you're writing guides and stuff like this, you should be using, you can use color, sure, but you need to combine it with text, but for accessibility for people like me. I mean, I'll figure it out eventually, but being colorblind has never stopped me from doing anything. But I'm just saying that it makes it harder whenever you only use things like color codes, and whenever you don't put any text at all in your images that are supposed to be showing you what you're supposed to do. It just makes things unclear. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Wait. Hold on. I've got this flex oriented incorrectly. This should be behind this pad. There we go. Okay, now that should be soldered together correctly. All right, now it says to fold the flex up here. I guess it probably helps that the flex is so stiff. when it comes to bending. That's probably why they made it so stiff, because you have to bend it a lot. Okay, and then we're gonna do this bend here. And then it says I'm supposed to cut a section of the shield out for that to pass through, which would be these parts right here. You know what? I'm not even gonna cut those. I'm just gonna bend them. All right. So I should be done with all the top side stuff, I think. So now we'll just go ahead and put the top shield on and see how well it all goes together. Looks like we're clear here. Got some sharp edges. I'm going to file those off real quick just to make sure that the flex cable doesn't get cut by them. All right, now I did miss a step. I know that because I was looking at the instructions again, and I missed the step for soldering the reset wire. So I want to go ahead and do that real quick. That's on the back of the board here. So the reset wire is supposed to solder to there. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. Okay. It says oh, I know how I missed it. It literally doesn't say. It's not in here. I just reread through it. It doesn't say where to solder the reset line to. Now I know, looking at this picture of the install, the reset line goes up to here and solders to this pad right here. But the guide actually doesn't say that. All right, let's get another wire in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just snake it through. So it's gonna need to end up over here. So I'm gonna snake it under the iFlash flex cable. And over to there. So we'll come through here. And then down here to here. Okay. Obi-Wan, what about Kapton tape? What's the comment about? I don't have any Kapton tape around here, around these parts. Don't use the stuff. Oh, put some for the wire? Just to hold it in place? Well, let me tell you. Instead of that, what if we use a little bit of UV cure resin? Done. Okay, we'll put another dot over here. Let's see, we'll put a dot right here. Yeah, UV cure resin's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Oops. Well, that wasn't good. Okay, now we can do a little bit of testing here. All right, according to the documentation, oh, before we do that, hold on a second. I do want to check something. No, okay, we're clear. We're clear. It says to check for bridges before you power it on, but That's quitter talk right there. You probably should do that, but I'm pretty confident that we don't have any bridges, so I'm just gonna send it. Now, one thing that I don't see listed on here is where you're supposed to solder that SP-diff wire. That's oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, so you gotta solder it to the F jumper, but only one part of the F jumper. Okay, I see. That'll come out here and around here, and yeah, sure. Okay, well, we'll deal with that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and test if we have a working setup at all. Okay, so the flex is supposed to come over, and then you're supposed to do... Hold on. Get this orientation turned around here. Okay, flex is supposed to come over, then you're supposed to bend this way. Right? So a bend back this way, and then bend under like so, and it should plug in. So it should sit like so. That looks about right. Oh, go ahead, Kobe. Let's just go ahead and install this. Let's go ahead and install this Spitif wire while we're here. Might as well just get it done. All right, so it's supposed to be the inner portion of the F jumper. Right here. Okay, seems reasonable to me. I suppose we ought to do a test. How's that sound? Well, it didn't blow up immediately when plugging it in, so that's good. Let's jump over to game capture. Let's see what happens. Hey. Let's grab a controller here. Interesting. Okay. It's frozen. We'll reset. Ah, no, it's not frozen. We just don't have controls. Oh. I guess the controller just wasn't inserted all the way. Hold on. Okay, let's reset again. Let's see if free MC boot works. It didn't boot last time. There it goes. Should boot into OPL now. L1, R1, left D-pad circled. Yeah, that brings up the menu. And this is a shiny edition, so we should have the option for 1080p. Where is our output option? Output resolution. Ooh, 1440p. Let's see what... Oh, my monitor doesn't like the 1440p, but the capture card got it. All right, well, here's the real question. No, we do have audio because I heard it. Okay. All right, we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I would call that tested. Oh. Oh, should we do a... is there a there's a self-test we can do? Hold on. Gotta wait for the controller to get hooked again since we're... okay, there we go. Controller's hooked. Let's see. System... Debug, self-test. That's all good, right? Are we all good? Good? Hell yeah. All right, let's shut it down. Okay, now we'll go ahead and install the 3D printed frame for the iFlash, and then we can button this thing up. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just peel the tape off of this. Oh, hold on. Let me get you off of game capture. We'll go back to the main cam. So we'll peel our tape off here. Alrighty, we'll go ahead and install the frame. So our frame kit is here. And it comes with two 3D printed pieces for the frame. I don't know if I had these last time, but we're using these heat set inserts now instead of nuts. The original design just had M2 nuts in there. These are a little nicer. So we can slide this under, or actually, no, we can't do that. We need to unclamp the flex and disconnect it because this board actually sits over the top of the iFlash flex, like so, and the flex passes underneath the frame, and then the other half of the frame slides in here like so. And it doesn't get away, it doesn't get in the way of the, it does not get in the way of any of the flex cable runs here. It does sit on top of this flex cable, but that shouldn't be a problem because it's basically just a flat piece there. You know, maybe I'll modify the design to make an opening there for this control flex to pass through. This flex here does there is an opening for it because I made that entire section hollow there. But I'll look at that. I might adjust that design just a little bit there. We'll go ahead and pop the screws into the back here to get the shield line back up. Okay, so now the heatsink is secured back in place, because that's what these screws back here do, is they hold the heatsink in place. Now the iFlash board will snap into place right there, and that mechanically holds it in place just by the 3D printed bracket. It's just got the correct cutout to hold the iFlash Flex in place. We'll go ahead and reinstall the flex cable into the iFlash board. Actually, it's easier to do this if it's not snapped in place. So we'll unsnap it. We'll reconnect the iFlash Flex. And then we'll snap it back in place. Hold on. Let's try this again. It's not actually lined up the way it's supposed to be, so we'll reinsert the iFlash Flex. Then lock the bail. Okay, that's better. Okay, so it's weird. It's not like it's not lined up the way it's supposed to be. I wonder if it's because of where I melted the locking bail there, if that's... I don't know. Oh, maybe my anchor points over here were not lined up right. It's like the flex isn't coming down far enough. Oh, teething issues. We'll pop this off here. Let me adjust my anchor here. Okay, let's see if that does a little bit better. I basically just moved the flex forward a little bit and re-anchored it a little bit further forward. And that should give it a little bit more room. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not pulled nearly as tight now. All right. Now, if we flip it over, where'd my screws go? Oh, there they are. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and pop one of these in right here. And then we need to get the laser. Where'd the laser go? There it is. Okay, so this part's a pain in the butt. And I would recommend, if you can avoid taking the laser out, avoid it. Because getting this laser flex cable back in just right at this angle sucks. I think I got it. Okay, now that all the installation work is done, we're good. Look at it. We got ourselves a little iFlash, little retro gem action going on here. Pretty happy with that. So this is important. We're gonna take out the SD card, and then we're going to install it into the shell. You definitely want to remember to take out the SD card, because if you don't, you could very well break the SD card trying to shove it into the shell with it still in there. So you gotta be careful with that. All right. Everything's looking pretty good. Let's get the lid. HDMI port alignment's not perfect. Kind of want to adjust that a little bit. I'm bothered by it just a bit. Am I bothered by it enough to deal with this? Can I even? No, it's not even gonna move over at all. Okay, well, we'll live with it as is. It's not quite as perfect as I would have wanted, but... Oh yeah, we gotta install the antenna. Go ahead and install the antenna. Okay. So it says to install the antenna right here. Like so. And then to route the antenna behind the fan. And then around. Hit. Well. Right. Hit. Well. Let's try that again. And it barely. Come on. There it goes. Nah, it looks fine. Should be good. All right, let's go ahead and pop some screws in here. Get this thing buttoned up. And then we'll do another test run. Completely. Oh, I missed a screw inside of here. Where the controller port is at. Dude, I don't know why the Tekken Tag Tournament intro and the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack keep playing over and over again. I have a list of 1,957 songs, and they're set to shuffle, and it just keeps playing the same damn songs over and over again. How? How? It's just the same stuff over. It's like the same like 5 songs. This is driving me crazy. All right, anyway. YouTube playlist is completely broken, obviously. All right, the screw that I missed is right down here. There is a screw that goes into this controller port. And I'm used to it not being there because my test PS2 never had that screw because it was a piece of junk that was picked up a long time ago in non-working condition and had been gone through by somebody else of questionable skill level, we'll say. Oh yeah, now we're cooking. We got some Dynasty Warriors 3 music going on here. I'm sure I'll get hit for copyright on this. This sounds like a copyrighted song. But hey. It's better than just hearing the same 3 songs over and over again. Nope. All right. Let's go ahead and pop our SD card back in. And let's give it a shot. Fully assembled. Maybe we can see about doing a firmware upgrade or something. It's not connected to my Wi-Fi, and I don't know if I want to spend a half hour typing out my password on stream, but we'll find out. I don't know how the firmware update process works on these newer PixelFX products. So the newest thing I have is PS1 Digital, and I know that's on the FX framework, so it's probably similar, but I don't know for sure. Oh, you connect to it on your phone. Interesting. That's probably more convenient. Gotta wait for OPL to hook the controller. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming we go into System. Nobody can do anything with this. You guys can't hack my Retro GEM, can you? With this information? Surely not. I think we'll be okay. Well, it's not finding my main Wi-Fi network. That's weird. There is a, I have a mesh network upstairs right above us. It should find it. That's weird that it's not. Okay, well, we'll go with, I do have an alternate Wi-Fi network we can use. All right, well, I put it in there. I did it. Oh, you know what? It's a mixed access point. That's probably why I didn't detect it. I do have a dedicated 2.4 access point for other purposes, and it did detect that one. Okay, let us see. Are we connected? We are connected. Good. Let's see. We'll check for updates. We have a new version available. Out of curiosity, anybody who has a gem, is there a backup recovery option in case a update were to fail? Is there like an emergency mode on these things, or like some sort of a hardware backup that you could do where you download a firmware and then update it with a programmer or something? I ask because we are having some thunderstorms right now, and if my power happens to go out while we're working here, that would be a bit of a pain. Oh, so there is a way to recover it. So is there like a recovery mode firmware that it can go into? If so, that's good. Because what online firmware updates always make me a little nervous because, you know, if you brick partway through, and there's no backup recovery method, then that could be a big problem. Oh, so you can actually, I see. That's kind of neat. So there's like I guess I would assume there's like a lower level firmware that doesn't get updated when you do, or well, that's not part of the update process whenever you're updating the firmware that's still there and running that you can get into that would allow you to do a recovery server and then connect to it, upload a file, flash the firmware. That's not bad. That's not bad if that's the case. So, while this is updating, I wanted to say so what we're doing here, what we're running here is we're running the Grim Doomer EX-FAT version of OPL, and I have got all of my games converted to ZSOs to save space. And my library was like 1.12 terabytes or so, and I have been able to fit that entire library onto a 1 terabyte card now with the ZSOs. Um, and I still have like 160 gigs free, which is awesome. So even though the max that this iFlash supports right now is 1 terabyte, just because it's not compatible with the 1.5 terabyte SanDisk card, even with 1 terabyte with the compressed ISOs, it works great. And actually, I was so impressed with it that I have a fat PS2 that I have a hard drive in, and it's only a 1 terabyte hard drive. So I went ahead and wiped it and installed the Grim Doomer OPL on it and put the ZSOs on there instead too. So now I have space to spare on the fat PS2 as well, which is pretty epic. And also, man, being able to load games onto the SD card that like easily just plug and play, drag and drop. It's so much better than having to use software like HDL dump and WinHip if you're really old school. All right, let's see what we got. Sweet. All right, while we're here, let's see what kind of cool stuff we can do. We got, okay, we got slot masks and shadow masks and stuff like that. That's neat. What's other? Ooh. What? What the hell? What is this supposed to be for? Okay, we're getting out of there. Okay. And then in video, we got our scalar options. Sweet. So we can do a bunch of scaling and shifting and cropping. We got our deinterlacer. And we'll go with motion adaptive. Smoothing algorithm. Oh, what's the algorithm, I wonder? Is it X... Oh, FXR. Not familiar with it. Well, we'll keep that off. Retro FX. What is this? Oh, scan lines, masks. Okay, gamma adjustments. Makes sense. Slot mask. Oh, that's interesting. So you can make your own slot mask design. That's neat. My monitor that I'm looking at this on will not accept any higher resolutions than 1920 by 1080, but it is nice to be able to go to 1440. And you guys can see it when I go to 1440 because the capture card supports it. So there you go, even though the aspect ratio is screwed up. Let's go back to 1080. Advanced videos, frame lock. Low lag. Inject agent. We're not going to do that because I don't think any of my capture hardware or my monitor supports that. But hey. All right, well. Game ID. How does this work? How does Game ID work? See, you know, the thing about the MemCard Pro 2 is that I don't know that there's really any point in me having one because I use virtual memory cards in OPL, and then I have high capacity regular memory cards. Okay, let's go play a game. Let's see. Let's go play. Okay, Game ID works with the Grim Doomer OPL version for the MemCard Pro 2. But what about, well, how does Game ID work for the GEM though? Does the GEM use Game ID to set video options or anything, or is it just memory card related? Let's see. I want to play something. What do I want to play? I want to play Half-Life. Classic PS2 game. Everybody loves Half-Life on PS2. I actually think Half-Life on PS2 is pretty good. I mean, of course, I'm going to play it on PC. But, you know, it's neat that it actually plays pretty well on PS2. The controls are pretty good. Which is surprising. PC games usually don't translate very well. Probably not implemented yet, knowing PixelFX. Yeah, that does seem to be the story of the... That does seem to be the story of their lives, or of our lives as buyers of their products. What? I thought I played some Half-Life on here. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't play it on this memory card. I might have had a different memory card in, because I think I was testing it on my fat PS2. Whatever. We'll have some fun here on the tram. Yeah, I mean, my understanding was that was always the plan for the GEM to become the DC digital replacement eventually.
Black Mesa Research Facility personnel. The time is 8.
I'm actually kind of, well, I guess if they had a bunch of DC digitals in stock, it makes sense that they would have
93 degrees. With an estimated
you know, wanted to keep it as a separate kit until
Black Mesa compound is
they had to replace, or until they sold them all.
At all times.
I mean, I would assume it would just be a firmware update for the GEM and then the correct flex cable adapter.
This train is inbound from level 3 dormitories.
Why can't I run around? I'm supposed to be able to run around on the tram. Why can I not run around on the tram? This is annoying.
Beyond Sector C.
Why is the PS2 version of this game limiting me in such a way?
Area 9 and board a high security train. If you have not yet submitted your identity to the retinal clearance system, you must report to Black Mesa personnel for processing before you will be permitted into the high security branch of the transit system. Due to the high toxicity of material routinely handled in the Black Mesa compound, no smoking, eating, or drinking are permitted within the Black Mesa transit system. Please keep your limbs inside the train at all times. Do not attempt to open the doors until the train has come to a complete halt at the station platform. In the event of an emergency...
Hey, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you hanging out the whole time. I'm going to try to stream more often now. I actually quit my job the other day. This week is my last week at my job. I was planning on quitting anyway to find something else, but I'm going to probably take a few months off and just focus on my business, and the iFlash is probably going to, seems like it's probably going to sell a lot of units, so I'm going to need a lot of time to work through all of that. So I'll be full-time, at least for a period of time until I get another job. So I'll probably be doing a lot of install streams and stuff, but thanks for coming by. Hope I see you on another one. Alrighty. Well, this Half-Life adventure, obviously, it has not turned out to be the most amazing idea because, because, I thought I had a save on here, and I don't. So this is pretty, you know, yeah. Maybe I should play a different game. We'll see. Let's get out of here. Let's play a game we can just hop right into. A classic game. A game that everybody knows. Everybody's favorite game. Katamari Damacy. This was actually not the game I was going to pick. I was going to actually do God of War 2, but hey, I saw Katamari, I went with it. All right. Alrighty. Let's get some stuff. All right. Well, I think that's probably all we need to do today. There you go. That's what all goes into an iFlash and a PixelFX GEM install. I would consider this to be pretty much the ultimate PS2. I mean, you could do this to a fat PS2. Sure, you could. I mean, you could do a GEM install and you could get a hard drive in there. You could do an SSD. That's cool, but the convenience of the SD card being accessible right there in the front of your console to load games onto, to change things around, it's pretty sick. And then, you know, the GEM is nice. You get good video quality and everything out of it. I'd say this is a really solid setup. And as much as I love the fat PS2, the Slim PS2 is just way quieter. Fat PS2s are loud. And this thing is like dead silent. So, you gotta love that. But anyways, I think that's gonna be it for tonight. Thanks everybody who came by for the stream. We'll do more of these, for sure. And, we'll catch you guys. Oh, and then, of course, the iFlash, you know, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm going to be shooting for hopefully about 2 weeks for the launch of the iFlash. I will be doing installations as well as selling the kits for self-installation. It is your call. I will also be doing PixelFX GEM installations now. I haven't figured out pricing on that yet because, well, you know, this one took a long time, but this is the first one I've ever done. I will get faster at them, obviously, the more I do them. So I've got to work out what the installation cost is going to be on that, but when I launch, I'll be doing GEM installs as well as iFlash installs for those who want them. So, anyways, I'll catch you guys next time. Later.